All right, so I hang out for a little bit, see if we get a few people in before I get started here. It's funny, I think that's a brand new filter. It is. I don't remember, I must have stuck that on there just to keep it sealed or something. Oh, microfiber towels. What's going on, brother? Yep. Fun it is. About to get started here shortly. I actually took the liberty of the other day of already getting the crank bolt off, which is right here. That did it with little to no effort. I think I'm going to use see it out here. I've got a sweet little snap-on screwdriver, but I must have been using it for something else. I'm looking for the speed handle. Full of oil. These bolts being full of oil is not really a healthy sign. It's like a front main seal leak or perhaps some other leak. Head gasket along the side perhaps, or a really, really bad valve cover gasket that leaked inwards somehow from below. One more, two more. Got power tools to do this, but honestly I like using hand tools for the simple fact that if something's going to break, you're going to feel it. So, and this engine hasn't been apart before. Oh, missing one more. So you can generally, if you're going to feel like something's going to break, you can let off before snapping it off and attempt other solutions. Alright, so that's pretty healthy. Let's take a look at the timing belt here. That looks really, really good, actually. You can see the ribs still in the belt. By the way, if this seems a little off, it's because I've got Instagram over here and YouTube over here. But you can still see the ribs in the belt, which means that this belt's in really good condition. Also, I don't see any cracks on the outside. That's a telltale sign that that's been on there far too long. But this is actually the original B20 out of the CRV. And this engine was actually running, for the most part, fine. It was burning some oil, but what happened was the transmission was leaking on a trip up to Virginia, and it ran low on the trip, so ended up losing the transmission on the trip up. Got it home, went to Go Pull that had a all you can carry for $50, so I paid 2 admissions. Basically carried the block out in one and carried the transmission out. And it was easier to just yank the engine and transmission in one go. As far as time goes, and it was only $100, so I got engine and transmission for $100. And about 3 hours of my time. Man, that keyway is like jammed in on the crank. I'm trying to see if I can, there we go. Keyway's not wanting to come out, so let's see if I can, there we go. This thing will get pressure washed after I get it all apart, but you think, why didn't I do it now? Well, this was under the timing cover, y'all, for those who missed. Hopefully that's feeling like there's a fair amount of resistance. That's going to be a pain in the ass to get off, probably. If you're taking apart enough B-series engines, you could put all these bolts in a bucket and you'll know pretty much where they came out. That is a very oily cam position sensor. And that very much looks like the front main seal. Basically, it failed. Let's see if I can lightly pry this off. I don't think so. That is probably going to require some heat because it's man, you can feel grime, rust or whatever on the crank. Tell you what, we're gonna spray that, see if we can get some lube to penetrate on that. Don't have exactly what I want, but this is brake tool or air tool oil. Not sure if that's going to penetrate much, but what I'll do is I'm going to let that sit for a while and move along to other things. Oh wow, yeah, look at that grime in there. So, you know what, here's the reason why this looks like crap is because of running water straight out of the garden hose. So all the minerals that's in your tap water end up cooking onto all the metal surfaces, leaving all the deposits over time. Now this isn't awful. It's not great, but it ain't awful. And with the condition of the timing belt, I want to say it was actually, the timing belt may have been done along with this water pump at one point in time. But you can see this coating in here eventually had been eaten away, and that's probably from like cavitation, I imagine. So air cavitation. Yeah, most likely. And that is all that mineral water, all the rust that is deposited down in the bottom right there too. Yeah, that's not healthy. So if you can help it, you know, use pre-mix or a non-mix. If you don't pre-mix your own antifreeze or coolant, then buy it pre-mixed. However, if you do it, make sure you're if you do mix your own, sorry, I think I was getting a little off there. If you do mix your own fluids, use distilled water. So this way there's no minerals in your water, and you don't have to worry about all those minerals eventually caking up on the inner, you know, walls of the cylinders, all inside here, inside the heater core, the radiator, anywhere along the cooling system. If this rubber gasket hasn't been out in a really long time, I think it's going to actually be kind of a pain to get out. Oh, the dogs are barking. Give me just a second. We'll go see what they're barking about. Hey guys. All right, we're good. See all the minerals. Inside here is the so this is the thermostat housing. Thermostat's inside there. So whenever you do need to do that maintenance, it's on these two bolts. Old pressure sensor boot is baked on. See if I can kind of get this to tear off, but it's really baked on there. I took my large crescent out to the property, which I did. That rubber boot you're not really going to grab onto. Probably got that. Let's see if I can use kind of crumple this rubber boot off, or see if I can get it off somehow. Bingo. There we go. I remember, I think it's a 21. Nope, 22. Nope, bigger than that. There we go. Good sender. So, and these are famous for being over tightened. And what'll happen is if you over tighten this old pressure sender, it'll crack this part of the aluminum housing if you're unlucky. If you're lucky, you only break this, but generally you crack the back of the block here. And if you do that, it can be fixed, but it requires disassembly of the engine, baking the engine, getting all of the old contamination out. And then an old trick that I was taught by an old timer was that when welding aluminum, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this, like I said, this is an old timer rule, and this has worked as rule of thumb for me over the years, was that you would take your oxyacetylene after you've cleaned all the metal. This has all been very clean, right? You would take your oxyacetylene, just have the acetylene on, and you would coat the surface that you want to weld in black soot. And then you would turn your oxygen on, preheat that surface until you cooked off that soot, and that would be the perfect time to weld the aluminum. All right, let's get this engine bracket off because we're going to need this actually so we can mock up the all-wheel drive engine and transmission over at the property for the other project. So this is going to be a B20VTEC with a fresh engine rebuild. And if I get all the extra, a few parts I need for the Jackson Racing supercharger, it's going to get a supercharger as well. And that'll be for the daily driver CRV. Which also does some light duty towing. That's the long shank, so yeah. And that's in good shape. This is what leads me to believe as well that when I bought this vehicle, the timing had already been done. Like, it's very smooth. So, good deal. And that, I put at least, see, I bought that thing, I bought the CRV with 180,000 miles on it, I think, if I remember right. And it has almost 300K on it now. So, all right, this is a 17. Oh shit, no way. That's because that's a 15. Yeah, it's 14. 14. Break out the snap-on. This is that 110 tooth as well. It's nice. If y'all had seen one of the previous videos I did, so I was trying to break the crank pulley off of this engine, and you know, there's been that real popular rampant icon versus snap-on issue. Well, the snap-on didn't break. The icon did, trying to get that bolt off, and ultimately in the end the socket broke. I did use a chrome. I used the same socket on both of these tests, or both of these ratchets. In the end, it took this guy about 2.5 seconds. What did I do with that other? Just now, I'll give the icon feels heavier, but the snap-on is super nice, and it doesn't break. At least it didn't. At least not in the test. Get the go. So I won't be using any power tools today, or pretty sure I won't be using any power tools during the rebuild of this engine as well. So, because I want to do this so that folks can understand that, look, you can do this stuff in a 10x10 tent like this. If you didn't notice, or you haven't paid attention, or you're just new here, this is a 10x10 pop-up tent. Yeah. You don't have to have a garage. The garage is nice, and boy do I miss my garage. I need to take the rear cover off. I'm going to need these again. I don't have to worry about any more fluid spilling, so we're good there. So 10mm. Oh, those new crow's feet are going to come in handy. I got one that's just in a poor position for where I put the this arm right here. I haven't even used the crow's feet yet. Alright, that's, you know, if there was a little push button right here, that'd be nice. There we go. Maybe you could just be a man. Pull it off. There we go. Brand new crow's feet I got. Fucking can't get them out. There we go. That worked perfect. The lock ball on here is very good. You definitely don't have to worry about your sockets falling off. That's for daggone sure. Damn, I'd say that it's almost too damn tight. Got them mad finger skills. All right, what's happening, y'all? Appreciate y'all joining. Dylan, Wuman, Juan Jimenez, Nicole, Nan Chicken. There we go. There's a lot of folks. I didn't get to your name. I apologize. Going on, brother? I wish I knew what that said, but that is Russian or Ukrainian? Russian, I assume. I don't know the difference, so don't take an insult to it. I don't know too much of a difference anyways. Alright, so rear cover is going to take another bolt or two on the bottom. Shouldn't get much, if any, oil. There we go. There comes a little bit. Now, like 16 10mm bolts or so that's on the bottom. Wow, that's super loose. Like, oh, you should do the X pattern, all that all the way across. You can. I'm not. I generally just loosen on one side, loosen on the other, and meet it in the middle. Or I'll just go completely around and leave like one on one end and one on the other so the whole pan doesn't just fall off, but leave them loose so the pan just hangs there, and then when you're ready to pull the pan off, especially if you're doing it from under the car, and you can just gently pull the pan down without it falling on your face. Now what I may end up doing with this oil pan, because I don't have another Moroso oil pan like is on that one over there, that B18C1 for the all drive Civic, which I think is out of frame and y'all can't see. So if you don't believe me, just in case, we'll end that debate right here. That one's been wrapped up for a couple of years and has actually never had, excuse me, has never had the cylinder head off since assembly. So I got that engine from a really good friend of mine, Lawrence, in Florida, before I moved out here. So it's been, and I think I had that engine close to a year before I moved away. So it's been 5 years that engine has been waiting. Now, come July, will be 5 years. Man, things have taken a long time since we moved out here. Not seeing any flashy metallic in it, so that's very good. It's been a minute since this engine's been out. Whoa, look at that clump of grease. That is not grease. That's oil funk. What's up, Leo? All right. So that's oil funk. What we got going on here? Said hi. Awesome. Well, hello. All right. So these are all pretty much standard 10mm studs and nuts. And the oil pan ones, as I recall, are 12mm in length. So they're easy to identify. Like that, and they have a small shoulder on them. As I recall, no, these actually go all the way up. No, there's a teeny tiny shoulder at the very, very top. See? And those are the oil pan bolts. So whenever you have them, trying to see if this is the difference. Like, this is not an oil pan bolt. This is the oil pickup screen. Let's see if it's got the same shoulder. Yeah, it does, but this one's approximately 2mm shorter. Our oil pickup tube and the baffle plate here is really dark. It's okay, pal. But that's because the engine's been sitting a really long time. So, but what I wanted to show you is that the screen looks good. Now, well, now I changed my mind. What's that in there? Let's see what that is. Let's get a pick. Now, these pickup screens, a lot of guys like over the B16 pickup screens because it looks like it's, okay, it looks like what it is it's, this looks like, daggone, having a brain fart here and I can't spit the word out. Gasket making, material. Here we go. Or a bug. Yeah, it looks like gasket something. It feels very rubbery. Here we go. So yeah, looks like a piece of Permatex or something. Now, here's the deal: is that caught that kind of flat, right? Now those holes are really big, and the B16 pickups have smaller holes, right? So it's and these have bigger holes, so you get higher flow. But on the inverse is it lets larger material through. However, that's the point of the pickup is actually not to filter your oil, right? It's literally there just to avoid large object contamination, or foreign object contamination. Your oil filter, on the other hand, that's what provides your filtration. Because after the let's move this back over. Slide this over, we'll go with that spilled oil. So after the little pickup draws oil in, your oil pump pressurizes that oil, sends it out through this galley up here. There is a spring and plunger system in here that spring is preloaded with a certain amount of tension under a certain amount of pounds, and I don't remember what it is. So, and that's what is to help maintain oil pressure, right? At least a minimum. So, and then that feeds across this channel back here in the back where your oil pressure sender is that we talked about earlier, where people will crack the block, and then it goes directly into your oil filter. And after that, it is recirculated back through the engine block, through specially milled, or not milled, but special holes that were part of the casting. Yeah. Now, if it was milled, then you've got most likely not a stock block. Alright. Not going to worry about too much stuff getting in there at this time, because again, this is all going to get cleaned off. Let's go ahead and get this splash guard off. Baffle plate, baffle pan. A lot of different names. Doesn't take much force to break these bolts loose. If it's taking more than a little smack like I'm doing, then best off getting a ratchet out and slowly working it. You can see the windage tray. That's the motion where the oil gets whipped off at such a high speed. So yeah, that's the official name, is the windage tray. All right, so not going to worry about taking this off yet. We're going to go ahead and drop these pistons out. We could take a look at the bearings. We'll see how this engine was doing at 100 and, when I took this engine out, it had 200 and maybe 50,000 miles on it. So yeah, we're gonna see what kind of condition it's in. Looks like the camera may have slid down right here. There we go, let's readjust that. There we go. Hopefully this improves. Probably a better angle. Yeah, all right. Let's continue. Let's knock this rear main cover off. all the bolts. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yep. Looks like that rear main seal may have been done before. Oh, no, that's just the grit. That's just the grit. But boy, it put a nice, boy, I'm curious how deep that is. I wonder if we can kind of see. I wonder if I can get this mounted and we can measure how deep that is. Potentially. I don't know if we're going to be able to really do this accurately because you don't want this arm to move. We'll try. I don't know how much error we're going to have here. All right, we're gonna not really have this set to 0, but we're just gonna try and slide it across. See how much it dips into the valley if I'm not moving against. Yeah, I'm moving against it, so that's not really accurate. And let's try this. See if I can. Yeah, it's not really gonna work out. I was hoping I could kind of slide it across, but can't really get it across there without it like pushing against the metal. So, and that's not really the way that's designed to be used. That's designed to be static. We'll be using that to measure the in play and run out of the crankshaft, however. Once we get this pump off, we'll measure in play in the crankshaft. We'll see how much there is. They'll tell us, if there's, how much play there was over those 250,000 miles. So really is not all that much of an important fact during this disassembly though, because there wasn't any issues with the engine running, but just do it for fun. All right. Let's get this rotated around. We're going to bring up 2 of the rods so we can easily get to them. Millimeter, as I recall, 12 or 13. 12. I did clean or run a rag. I didn't really do a ridge reamer on these cylinders. I'm not reusing these pistons. I probably should, but I'm not going to. If I was going to reuse the pistons, I'd go ahead and use the ridge reamer, clean up the top of the cylinder, This way you don't have to worry about like etching or scratching the piston as you remove it. Like I said, these are not going to get reused at all. I'll probably turn them into trophies or something down the line. I've done that before in the past. All right, one thing I do want to keep track of, however, is where these nuts came off, which rod they came off of. And their orientation. I like to put them back exactly where they came off. Now, today, I'm going to follow that same rule for the simple fact of just keeping a good standard in what you do. I'll drop that one down there. Okay. Next. There we go. Just gently tapping, breaking the rod to go downwards. Take a look here. Wow. All right. So for 250,000 miles, we see the only wear that we really see on these bearings is right here. And so that is just some of the load on the crankshaft. That looks pretty fucking good. Yeah, like I can, if I work against it, you can see my fingernail put a scratch in it. That's how fragile bearings are. And there was less of scratches in it before I disassembled it. You'll notice that there's a notch in the bearing. So, and that has to do with orientation. That helps you orient the bearing correctly. Because a lot of times in your connecting rod, you'll have, you see how there's a hole here? That would be like an oil feed hole. So, and it may help you align. Like you don't see one here, but there might be a channel in here, or there might be a valley, and there might be another hole, and that would be like an oil feed hole. So I'm just gonna keep these bearings and stuff together for now. Not entirely sure what I'm gonna do with these. And now let's see if I got them. I used to have rubber boots for the connecting rods. And it just keeps it from scratching anything. And they're just handy. Yeah, I don't see them. I don't know where they're at. All right, I'm just gonna have to be careful. Just be gentle. There we go. Working against that ridge. There we go. Wow, look at all the carbon built up in between the rings. And that is most likely why we were burning oil. Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Look at that. So at the bottom of the compression ring, it's just full of gunk and there's no expansion of the ring. These old control rings, while they're still by the naked eye look free of funk, it's really, you could tell that there's quite a bit of carbon material and oil, baked oil in the top of this old control ring. But that bottom compression ring, that's shot. Yeah, see how much of a gap there is? There's zero gap and zero expansion of that lower ring. All right, now, so you see the number on the connecting rod. This helps you identify your cap and your bearing from assembly. There we go. And it should create a number. So this had a number 3 size journal. There we go. That was the top, that was the bottom. All right, we're gonna need a drawer, unless I write something in here. It won't really matter, because like I said, these won't go in, I just want to keep it together. All right. Not bad, other than the normal load wear that we would expect to see. And we see we're actually seeing it a little bit on both sides. So that's starting to become irregular. All right. There we go, see? Now that's how we would expect. Now, again, the same issues starting to develop on this compression ring as well though. Top compression ring is still doing good. Try and get this to where both cameras can see. However, see how the bottom compression ring is still expanding in one direction. However, it's pretty much seized up in the gap here. These oil control rings appear to be shot. Yep, they're cooked. Completely seized in there. I'm interested to see. Man, I'm really surprised this wasn't burning more oil than it was. So it wasn't putting out clouds of smoke. You would think it would be, but that top compression ring's still doing its job. Guess that was holding it up. Looks pretty good. number 2 journal. Well, so I'm breaking these loose with about a 1/4 turn. What that does, it releases some of the pressure evenly from the cap. Keeps it from warping your caps. Top bomb. Realize I never even turned on the camera. I'll just have to pull the live stream. I actually have a GoPro sitting over here I never started, and the Insta360 never started it. That same wear across the crank on all of these rod journals. Oh, bearings got to be stuck on here. Yep. I was like, wait a minute, that don't look right. Yeah, bearing is stuck on there. All right. Okay, yep, looks just like the others. Just trying to wipe this down a little. smacking the rod against the cylinder wall. Top compression ring still kind of doing its job. Bottom compression ring completely seized. Control rings look like they're seized up. It wasn't going to be long before she was going to be puffing, just billowing smoke. It was not going to be long. Number 2 journal. Out dogs barking. Be right back. Coast is clear. Fistful of oil on that one. So this is the only one that was left doing its job. So as you can see, compression rings are still free floating. Now the oil control rings, however, yeah, this was the last holdout. All the pistons have the same wear. Starting to show a little more load on this connecting rod. Those rings are going to give out long before these bearings. That's a number 3 journal. Let me go check this out. We're all good. All right, so really last part off is getting this timing gear off. Hopefully I can get that off pretty easy right here on camera. Let's see if that oil is at all. At least not easily by hand. I have knocked one of these off by tapping the oil pan ever so slightly for like 45 minutes. And while the oil pump gear didn't really survive it well, it did get the daggone pulley off. Surprisingly, the oil pump gear looked like it had taken a little bit of a beating inside. So, and I think it's because at one point, once the pump, the gear was out here, it was starting to do this number. So, and it kind of marred up the pump gear. Anyhow, yeah, we still got 2 more bolts right here. 3, 4. And 10mm. Hi, Leo. Are you stuck? You are stuck. All right, okay. All right, give me a second. You're not stuck. He's not stuck. He just wants attention. Here comes Cedar. She's one of the old girls. Hey girl, how you doing? How you doing, Peanut? I don't want to rub on you too much. I'm all, I got greasy hands. I guess as long as I pet you around your eyes, it's okay. Won't really tell. Well, no, you got a whole lot of white coming in there too, so. All right, these are easily identifiable. All right, I'm gonna try the light hammer method. I'm gonna see if we can work this gear loose. I don't like doing it like this, but this is on here. Aha, here we go. Like a boss. That actually worked 100% better than I was hoping. That was much tighter. Still tight, but at least it's coming off. There we go. All right, we'll tear the oil pump apart in a whole nother episode. And that'll be a complete tear down of the oil pump. We'll measure the clearances on the oil pump and stuff like that. So this way you can determine, if you're having issues, you think maybe the oil pump is not providing enough pressure, we can look at the oil pump and you can measure it. You got to take the thing off to repair it. So you might as well as measure the thing and make sure it's actually not broken. It might just be need a new spring. You can order these parts. Well, you could also order the whole oil pump. Probably cost you less time. It's a little bit more money. It's totally up to you. All right, now we got to break loose these crank cap bolts here. These are on there with a fair amount of torque. And this is important to do in a specific order. So we're going to start from the outside, work our way in. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to go a quarter turn, or correction, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, but we're going to go a quarter turn. I'm loosening this up first. There we go. Now, we can use speed handle. That's a 14. That's a 12. No, that is 14. Once you've broken the quarter way loose, you're good to go. When we put new bearings in, we'll measure the end play. I just realized I didn't do that. Could have measured that end play right before we broke these loose. Alright, these are marked, so it's easy to tell which one goes where. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it has an arrow pointing, so, and it always points towards the timing cover. I am trying not to drop it on the goddamn crankshaft. I think you hit like right in here. All right, let's look at these bearings. Yep, you see that low is just starting to polish out here. It's done come out here, but that's 280,000. That's pretty even across the bearing. So let's look at the next one. See a streak right there, a little streak right here. You catch my fingernail on it right here. Can't do it right there. Can't catch it right there either, but you can catch your fingernail over here. Looks like a little bit of contamination started to get caught up in the bearing right here. Crankshaft looks very good, very clean. Oh. Got a teeny tiny line, very like barely visible to the eye, which is most likely as a result of that. I don't know if you can see right here. Get it closer. Looks like a piece of contamination got caught in the bearing. Right in there. And that was probably beginning to cut the crankshaft. Oh, let's look back at some of these comments here. So, my cam belt tore while I was driving. Oh shit, that's not good. Yeah, that's bad. What car was it? This is the B20B4. It came out of my 1998 Honda CRV. Desky, what up, dog? A lot of folks in here over here on Instagram. Just throw the waves down real fast. Oh man, I missed a bunch. Well, if I missed you when you were coming in, appreciate y'all coming and watching. Still got a little bit to do. We're getting there. Yep, see, look, we got a line. You can see a line in the bearing right up in here. Pretty sure you can see that. Move it just slow enough. So that is a piece of contamination. That line doesn't go all the way around. So it means that it got drug around, pumped in and drug around at one point. Got lodged in the bearing. So it's embedded in that bearing and it will begin to eat away at the steel. Yeah, man, I hear you. Like, the Cacers is, you know, it is kind of like the way to go. But I have a lot of B series laying around. I literally have, let's see, how many engines do I have? I've got the B18C1 behind me, which is going in the Civic, the all-wheel drive Civic. I got this B20, which we're rebuilding for the CRV, and then it's getting the B16 head, so it'll be a B20VTEC. And then if anybody here has a Jackson, the VTEC Jackson Racing Supercharger, let me know, because I need to get one of the brackets scanned so I can 3D print it and make it. I need so I can put the Jackson Racing Supercharger on this engine. So this bearing looks pretty good. This is the lightest worn bearing. Looks like it just started to get into the material here. So, and this is the #1 cap. Yep, closest to the timing cover. All right, now the money shot. See the bearing still stuck on there, but there goes one of the bearings. Crank looks pretty good. Is we can actually check that out and measure it. I just dropped on the ground, a bunch of shit fell on it. So these bearings don't look half bad. Again, for 250,000 miles, looks like pretty typical wear. Let's go ahead and take these out. We don't need those in there anymore. I'm not worried about what bearing is what, to be honest, because I'm not going to reuse these by any means. The other thing that the non-VTEC blocks don't have that a VTEC block has is, and you can't really see it in this, is that there are oil squirters. Let's see if I can turn this block around and you can see that there are none. So down in the bottom of these cylinders would sit a little jet that would aim up into the bottom of the cylinder, and that would lubricate the bottom of the piston. And it also helps actually reduce cylinder temperatures. You know, people forget to realize that one of the big reasons of the oil outside of lubrication is actually also transferring heat out of those components. So, and it does a really good, oil does a really good job of transferring heat. So let's break out the micrometer. So we got an ECU from iRun OEM over here. You know what, let's look at the bore gauge real quick. Let's check out the cylinders. We'll look at the crankshaft in a whole nother episode actually, because I actually want to do a breakdown on the crankshaft separately. But since we were doing a teardown on the engine, it would only be right that we at least take a look at the bore sizes to see if we've got some eggs going on. We can get kind of a quick look at that. The all-wheel drive Civic is not here, my man. It's over at my property. So, but I've got a bunch of other videos on it. One of my best videos is actually where I recorded the entire process of making the rear trailing arms for the Civic. So, and that's on here. It's on YouTube. All right, so let's take a look. I haven't used this in a very, very, very long time. Hopefully the batteries, hopefully I have some batteries. What you need. Let's see. Yep, I'm gonna need a battery. I don't know if I have. Shit, I don't. Do not have what I need, and it takes a small watch size battery, like a, you know, takes one of the small circular ones. Fortunately, I don't have any of those on hand. Oh, you know what? Actually, I might. Hold tight. All right, hopefully these are the right ones. And hopefully they're not too old, because I've had these for who knows how long. A very long time. Hopefully I'm putting that in the right way. Yep, looks like it's right. There we go. Got to put this thing together, so bear with me. Gotta figure out which one of these rods I need. Remember, it's this one. Yeah, I think it's slightly longer one. This one here, the dirty one. Get my fingers on it. This is the downside to not having fingernails. Like, you can't grab shit. There we go. Oh, that one, it was the other dirty one. Can't grab the damn thing. There we go. It is not allowing my gauge to seat properly. That ain't right. I feel like the gauge is seized up. Oh no. Hold on. Oh no. No way. Wow, it will not. It is like seized up. Fuck me. Well, okay. We'll get the tool man to take care of that. So much for that. We'll do it the other way. I think I've actually got the old school tools as well, if I remember right. Wow, that's pretty disappointing. Take the battery out so it doesn't get oxidized. No, not a boxer engine, my man. It is the B20B4, which is out of the Honda CRV. Oh, now it's not coming out. Now I can't get the battery to pop back out. I don't want to leave it in there because, there we go. Of course it will oxidize, you know. And it's nice because this is actually a nice gauge. It's even got the calibration port in the top right here. So basically you would put this in there, you could, you know, see what your cylinder width is, but the gauge is not adjusting. So let's see if I've got my other gauges here, which are kind of similar to these little bitty tiny ones right here. There we go. Old school telescoping gauges, just like this. So we'll do, stick it down in like so. Just like that. What you do is, if I had my notepad, so we take that, I'm gonna grab over here, get them up. So if I got an electronic one real quick, because I'll make it really quick. Otherwise, I can get out my other gauges. This is very limited workspace, y'all. We're literally working in a 10 by 10 tent. But I have a set of these bad boys, so let's go ahead and measure out. Drop this gauge in here just to verify that our gauge is exactly 3 inches. Just like that. Where's my marking at? Okay, so we're actually do this again. It's right in there. It's kind of hard to do this when it's you're one-handed and you're trying to do it for the camera here. And you want to use the ratcheting at the top, so this way it doesn't go any tighter. And we're at literally, we're 100 thousandths off. So it needs to be adjusted. These need to be adjusted by 100 thousandths. So that's okay. Now that we know, keep that in mind for the moment. So we're gonna measure this out. So now we know we're at 3 inches. Then we'll have to do a little conversion. Oh shit, this clamp ain't big enough. Is it? Nope, here we go. Yep, we're good. I thought it almost backed off. Almost there. See if I can do this where y'all can see it. All right, so right about there, lock it in place so you can see it. And shit, I can't see it. My eyes have gotten that bad. I literally will have to take a picture of this. All right, so let's keep that in mind. We'll keep that to the side. I genuinely can't see it, even with these glasses, and these lenses are like the James Webb edition of lenses. I don't even know if, I wonder if the camera could pick that. Oh yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's what I'm working with, y'all. Okay. Fucking blind as all get out. Look at that. You can like see this. I can see stuff on the surface of the moon when I look up at night. Colin, what are you doing right now? So this is the B20 that originally came out of the CRV. And so it's been stored for quite some years. And I have everything I need for the most part to do a B20VTEC. The engine in the CRV right now is starting to get pretty tired. So we're gonna get a little ahead of it and get this built out for the CRV. And then on top of that, this is going to get a VTEC head, which is right there, and a Jackson Racing supercharger. So anyways, let me find a digital gauge because I genuinely can't see. I can't see the tiny print. Haha. All right. I don't think we got a battery in here. Oh, we do. It's not normal. Let's see if it's dead. And surprisingly, this case has 2 batteries sitting in it. Yeah, man, if you're gonna do something, dude, you might as well as go, you know, go all in. So it's really the only way to go. And the fact is I have 2 Jackson Racing superchargers. I've got the B20 non-VTEC model, and I have the model for VTEC engines. So, and they're literally just sitting in storage, so why not? And because boost is fun, and I finally got the ECU I needed. I run OEM, popped up with the P72 automatic. All right, let's zero this out. There we go. Zeroed out. Let's take a look here. So my son got off work. Need a ride home. My son got off work. Need a ride home. I never saw the text message. Oops. But my wife saw it, so she's gonna go pick him up. So look at that. So that was basically right at 84 millimeters. Damn, like it's showing under, but let's do this again. Y'all saw it a moment ago. So it's 0. Let's go ahead and pull it out to about 80 some millimeters. Yeah, it's still, this engine is still within, come on now. I think I've probably pushed in on it some, but so this engine's still within service limit as far as, you know, we've only measured one angle. So that's not, that is not entirely accurate, but that first preliminary measurement, like I said, we're just gonna get a quick measurement here. We're not gonna go and do all with the cylinders at all the angles and stuff, but feel in there. All right. So we're still falling at 84 millimeters. I think we can have a little error here. We got about 3 thousandths. Which is a lot. but we're measuring the cylinder here. It's not a whole lot. So, but we're basically measuring 84 millimeters. So we're not measuring above it, which is, well, hold on now. Where are we at? Yep, so 84. So yeah, we're measuring, at least we're showing up slightly below 84 millimeters here, which is not what we should be getting, but we're gonna give it a slight room for error, for this is a made in China digital gauge. No name. It says it's a Whitworth. I don't remember if that's a name brand or not. So anyhow, these gauges on the other hand are where the accuracy is, if I could see it, but oh man, fuck, it's so small. I just can't see the tiny lines, man. I probably need to get another set of glasses. I think I might need to get an appointment to the optometrist. Fuck, man, getting older. That sucks. It is what it is, though. So, all right. Let's do one more little once over here, and let's set this gauge back. You don't want to have it set all the way tight, so you just break it a little loose before you tighten it up, or before you put it back into storage. I'll take the battery out of that gauge in just a moment. You never want to store your batteries in your electronics, especially if you don't use them very often, like me, because I don't turn wrenches professionally anymore. So a lot of my tools kind of sit, and so, for example, gauges like this, I'll just leave them loose and store them loose, extended. So, like that. Which this one looks like it's actually, is that extended? Yep, it's extended. Oh, we're missing a, damn. That one came apart. But you know what? I've got another set of gauges that actually can measure that inner diameter like that. That'd be for like valves, you know, valve guides or something. Those would be some pretty thick valves. So that's what I think I actually showed y'all a moment ago. A whole nother set of these gauges right here. Like this. These are from Blue Point, if I recall. But when you need to measure something really small, the inner diameter of something, then you can use this here, and it'll spread that head, and then you measure the width of the head. So, but since we'll put them back in storage, we'll loosen those up. So, and this will measure down to 1/8 of an inch. These do. So, there you go. Oh man, dude. So as a mechanic, you gotta understand, I'm not a professional mechanic anymore. It looks like we had Redline on YouTube asked me, said, I'm at ASC school. Said, I'm in ASC school. How much do you typically make as a mechanic? So today, I honestly, I can't tell you what professional mechanics are making. I haven't been in that industry for a good bit. I have a lifetime collection of tools, and I still buy a lot of specialty tools because, well, I like to build a lot of specialty stuff on the side. But when I was turning wrenches, which was 2000 and when I lived in Virginia Beach, so the last time that was 2011, and I was probably making. I was working in a shop. I was working at a place called Sage a very long time ago. I can't remember how much I was making annually there because I was not being paid salary. Now, when I was a salaried mechanic, I worked at a place called King's Tire. Really, I wasn't even salaried there either. This was 2000 and really doesn't even apply anymore, man. So shit, yeah, that was 2008-ish, 2008-ish, before I went to Volvo Trucks North America. and I was making like 12 or 13 bucks an hour, which was good money for where I lived at the time. But today you're not gonna you're not really gonna make ends meet there. So I would say a good mechanic nowadays, now coming out of school, don't have super high expectations, because a lot of shops may also regard your experience versus what you have on paper. I've seen a lot of guys come out of schools and dudes can do drum brakes. So don't take me wrong. I love the certifications and it's awesome. I don't have them anymore. They've long been expired, but I just had like simple certifications like AC and heating, brakes, and suspension and steering for alignments. But that was it. And that was back in the early 2000s. So, but yeah. But anyway, so this engine, I think what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to send this off to get this cleaned. I've got a pressure washer, but I don't have really the equipment to get this thing clean like I really would like to without some for real elbow grease. So we'll send this off to a local shop, get this cleaned up. The cylinder head measured out really good. So the cylinder head was true, but you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and have them go ahead and mill the deck regardless. I only think it's gonna take a few hundred thousandths, if anything, because it measured out very straight. And then the pistons, we'll do a hone ourselves most likely before we send it off. We'll do a hone right here in the tent. We'll measure it before and after of all the cylinders. So we'll measure for egg warpness through each cylinder. We'll do basically 4 measurements, which will be going either direction like this and like so, and then at one depth, and then again a little deeper down in the cylinder, and then we'll repeat that process through each cylinder. You could really start, seeing egg shape if you start measuring, 6-8 times. But then if you're doing that, you probably have some type of laser assembly, because to sit there and do it with manual tools really does take forever, and it starts getting a little overkill when you could just measure it 4 times in each cylinder and you're pretty much good to go. Machinists might disagree. So, but I get it, man. That's where the real engine pros are at and stuff like that. Not guys like me. But and then we'll do a separate little shoot on this crankshaft. We'll measure the crankshaft, make sure everything's good on it, and if we need to do anything with it, if for any reason that this little gap, you see this gap up on the nose of the crank, if that gap is too deep, we can sleeve that. And the same thing on the back. But just looking at it, I've seen worse. Pretty sure we're just gonna run another seal. So anyhow, if y'all were here for the whole video, appreciate y'all being here. And if you're not subscribed, head over to YouTube. If you're on Instagram, or if you're on Instagram or YouTube, head over to Instagram, subscribe. Really appreciate it. And I'll probably re-release this in a couple little shorts or something really quick. But stay tuned. Again, this is the B20VTEC for supercharged for the Honda CRV all-wheel drive. This engine over here, that's the B18C1. That's the GSR that is completely virgin. This is for the all-wheel drive Civic. And we have a whole lot of parts. So stay tuned, y'all. We'll see you soon.